In 2005, TT Games and LucasArts released LEGO Star Wars the video game into the world, which broke so many records and became one of the best-selling video games of all time. I mean, who hasn't heard of the game? LEGO Star Wars set itself as the perfect template for LEGO games. With its success, many sequels and offshoots based on other films and LEGO themes followed. But what many people don't know is that this was not the first LEGO video game. What? Before mini kits and collecting studs were ever a thing, LEGO actually released several games which achieved varying degrees of success at the time of their release. Today we'll be diving into that.
Oops, you have to put the CD in your computer. Okay, let's get started. There's so much to do. Things like racing and jet skiing and building and flying and watching and driving and having fun and, the only way to visit Lego Island is to become a Lego person.
The year is 1995. The video game world is headed into a brand new generation that'll change the market forever. The PlayStation is just getting started in North America. Hoping to capitalize on this new tech boom, LEGO licensed the rights of their sets to iconic video game developers. Sega! This would be the very first LEGO video game ever released. Developed by Sega and exclusively released in Japan, LEGO Fun to Build was far from the mainstream success that the games have now come to be. Also important to note that the Sega Pico was not a conventional console, it's basically just like a really bougie leap pad. Interestingly, I had never even heard of this game or console before I started working on this video. By 1996, LEGO had become very interested in fully venturing into the video game industry, and as a result, they founded LEGO Media in London to have several games developed. The first and personally my favorite game was LEGO Island. Developed by Mindscape, it was an open-world game with a loose story where you could play mini-games, explore the island, and even interact with its citizens. It was simple and featured really fun, likable characters, like who can ever forget Officer Nick Brick or Mama and Papa Briccolini?
Who?
It also introduced Pepper, Infomaniac, and the Brickster.
I want every gun we have to fire on that man. Do it.
That's enough. That's enough!
Going on to feature in other games as well. During development, the game's director and co-designer Wes Jenkins created an actual physical set of the island using existing town sets from the time, as well as his own original designs such as the information center. This was done as a test of sorts to observe how kids would play and interact with the various builds and characters. This served as a huge help in designing the interactive play elements within the game. As well as designing the layout, Jenkins also created all the designs for the characters, making these minifigures the first not to be designed by the LEGO Group. Paul Melmed, who also co-wrote the story of the game, created the personalities of the characters, with each one representing a different form of intelligence. Melmed served as great help for the game, given he had a background in both psychology and education. Following 2 years of development, the game was released to a wildly successful reception. The initial release of the game also included an official Infomaniac minifigure. I even have one myself. He's one snazzy looking gentleman. Unfortunately, some controversy arose post-release. To avoid paying royalties, Mindscape fired the entire development team shortly before its release, also canceling Jenkins' other LEGO games as a result. During his time at Mindscape, Jenkins also worked on 2 other games, LEGO Sea Challenge based on the Aquazone theme, and LEGO Adventures based on the theme of the same name. Various documents and concept art were created, including a full animatic for Sea Challenge.
20,000 bricks off the coast of Lego Island sits the Fantasy. And that's where we're heading now, so watch your step and welcome aboard. Well, this is about the end of the line for me, but the beginning of the Lego Sea Challenge for you. Good luck, kid. Hey, just look for the Infomaniac.
While these projects wouldn't come to fruition, Wes Jenkins would end up being hired by LEGO Media as the company's creative lead and senior producer, going on to work on several new games. LEGO Media followed Island with Loco, Chess, Creator, and Friends, which would go on to serve as the basis for the theme much later.
You have to put the CD. Whoa.
Hoping to get in on the console action, LEGO Media began venturing into console games with LEGO Racers in 1999. In pure LEGO fashion, the game allowed you to build and customize your own car as well as its driver. Racers also featured many characters from the LEGO themes of that era, including Castle, Space, Adventurers, and Pirates. The game was released on PC, PlayStation, Nintendo 64, and even a handheld version on Game Boy Color developed by Climax Studios. The Game Boy port was definitely limited by its technology, but still featured really cool backgrounds and was really enjoyable to play. Following up their first foray into console games, LEGO Media returned with the PlayStation exclusive LEGO Rock Raiders. A PC version was released as well, but was completely different in gameplay, as it leaned more into real-time strategy, unlike its console counterpart, which focused more on action and narrative. Speaking of action, the gameplay is very frustrating at times, as the vehicle controls are extremely janky. To go forward, you have to go up on the joystick, and no matter how you're positioned, while the side-to-side joystick movement only allows you to turn left or right. I mean, it's confusing. The PC version definitely had superior graphics. The PlayStation version had that very pixelated 3D style, which was of its time. Definitely not as bad as the Phantom Menace game, though.
When the Trade Federation Viceroy arrives, we must convince him to leave the system.
We say here's Big Mechanics!
How could this happen to me? I made my mistake!
The lore behind the game is quite insane, as it features a group of miners as they explore the mysterious planet U for searching rare minerals. The theme was well known for its unique designs, but is better known for the fact that the central character, Chief, was never actually featured in any of the traditional building sets, but rather just in a collectible pack of minifigures in a new line called the Mini Heroes Collection. Other packs were produced for other themes as well, such as Ninja, City, and Star Wars, but of course Chief now goes for an insane amount online. During the final stages of development for LEGO Creator, LEGO asked the development team Superscape to whip up a quick demo for a Star Wars themed LEGO Creator game in the hopes LucasArts will be interested in collaborating with them on the title. In just 3 days, a demo was completed with models and textures based on the set 7128 speeder bikes. A model of the Scout Trooper was also created. Developer Simon Meacock spoke on the process, saying, "The LEGO Star Wars plastic kits were still in development and under wraps, but from photos I was able to build a minifig and then put them into Creator with some actions and scenery in 3 days. LEGO were very pleased, but didn't get the license unfortunately. LucasArts passed on the project as they didn't see a LEGO Star Wars game as profitable. Boy, they were wrong. This was before the sets were even released, so it's understandable they didn't want to risk having a failure in a toy they weren't yet certain was a sure thing." Keen on creating a new original franchise, LEGO teamed up with legendary filmmaker James Cameron.
His name is James Cameron!
And his production company, Digital Domain, to make a new game, which was a first for the film studio. Early in its development, the game was known as LEGO Logic, and it focused on solving puzzles by using LEGO pieces. It was then known as TILT, which was an acronym for Trans-International LEGO Team, after LEGO suggested giving the game a spy theme to it. It then went through another name change, which was meant to be the final one, LEGO Action Team. Early box art for the game even featured this title, as well as the game's official website. It was then given the final name LEGO Alpha Team, which everyone knows today. A version of the game was also released on the Game Boy Color, which focused more on the puzzle aspect of the game. Succeeding a great reception critically and financially, LEGO launched the official Alpha Team line of sets a year later. Like LEGO Island, Alpha Team was not designed by LEGO, but by the developers. Alpha Team would go on to have a solid line of sets lasting from 2001 to 2005. The next game, LEGO Stunt Rally, was a really fun spin-off of Racers, evolving the racing gameplay into something really fun. A console version was set to be released for PlayStation, but was unfortunately cancelled despite being nearly complete. As with most LEGO games, the main gimmick behind Stunt Rally is that the player could build their own racetracks. Featuring a wide array of colorful characters, the game has become quite iconic thanks to its villain, Baron Flambeau, who has a very unique design. He has weirdly become a cult favorite among fans of the classic LEGO community on Instagram. And God bless Brick Guild Toys for making a pad-printed Baron Flambeau figure. Oh, it's beautiful. Despite not going forward with developing LEGO Creator Star Wars, LEGO Media would use the opportunity for another spin-off of the original Creator game, this one focusing on the first wave of Knights Kingdom sets following King Leo and Cedric the Bull, fan favorite LEGO characters. LEGO creator Knight's Kingdom would be the first game released with the newly changed name LEGO Software. The game brought in new features such as narrative-based challenge levels, which must be completed before starting the main building mode. If anything, the levels served as somewhat of a litmus test for the LEGO Creator series, as they would introduce mainly narrative levels for the next entry. With the huge rise in Tycoon games, LEGO hoped to create one of their own and also capitalize on their Legoland parks. Thus, a decision was made to make their next title Legoland. LEGO would work on the game alongside Chrysalis after their last effort, LEGO Chess. In order to give the developers a better understanding of theme parks, the company invited the team to explore the Legoland Windsor Park in the UK. The game was notable for its odd decision to give the minifigure characters noses. And everyone knows LEGO people don't have noses, except for Timmy of course, and the severely outdated Native American figures.
What the fuck is this piece of shit?
Which are still somehow labeled as Indians. Ugh. The game contained several references to many other properties. Professor Voltage is the grandfather of Veronica Voltage from Racers, and the park's chef Rosie Briccolini is Mama Briccolini's cousin. LEGO has never been a stranger in connecting many themes with one another. After previously working with Mindscape on the first LEGO Island game, LEGO chose to seek out a different developer, as the former ended its development by not paying out the entire team in full. Scummy stuff. However, in its early development, a LEGO Island sequel was never even on the cards. It began its development as a wholly new property by Chrysalis Software under the name LEGO Fantasy. Planned to be released on Windows and as a PlayStation exclusive for consoles, the game would have been a tie-in for the animated series in the works at the time called Adventures in LEGO World. The series and game would have focused on three friends and their dog, Blocko, very fitting name, as they adventure into the LEGO world using a magic watch. The gameplay was inspired by Super Mario 64, a third-person adventure game. Development continued with plans for it to be released during the first quarter of 2000. As the team was behind, a decision was made to delay it. Unfortunately, the Adventures in LEGO World series was cancelled before it could even get off the ground, leaving the game in limbo. As Chrysalis was left with their incomplete build for LEGO Fantasy, one dev suggested reworking it into a LEGO Island sequel, as the original protagonist bore a strong resemblance to the GOAT himself, Pepper. However, at some point, LEGO chose not to continue with Chrysalis, and instead gave LEGO Island 2 to Silicon Dreams. Despite not returning as the game's director and lead designer, Wes Jenkins still came back to work on the script of the game, adding numerous changes to bring it closer to the first in terms of the narrative. Under a new game studio, LEGO Island 2 went through several adjustments, with a new focus on Pepper traveling to the worlds of different LEGO themes, including Knight's Kingdom, Adventurers, and Pirates. The game was also to include a whole area based on Rock Raiders, but was sadly cut from the game despite being nearly completed. Its ridiculously long load times were a huge point of criticism. I swear, the pizza gives me, PTSD every time I see it. Ugh. The voice cast from the original game didn't return as well, with everyone being replaced by new ones. Also, fun fact, in the first game, Pepper was voiced by John Morris, who also played Andy in all 4 Toy Story films. Let's just say they really missed the mark with whoever they got as Pepper.
Pepper, what are you doing?
My best.
That bad, huh?
Also, Infomaniac clearly must have gotten LASIK, because where the hell did his signature glasses go? To promote the game, LEGO also hosted the web game Pepper's Skateboard Challenge, which also included a contest to win one of 5 life-size replicas of Pepper's skateboard. Real shame Flash games don't work anymore. Released to mixed reviews, LEGO Island 2 was in many ways inferior to its predecessor. Weirdly, it has gained somewhat of a cult status over the years. While there are definite problems, having the player able to explore the worlds of different LEGO themes was a very welcome addition to the game. 2001 also saw the release of LEGO Racers 2, the long-awaited sequel to the hugely popular first one. Early on in development, the game had Professor Voltage, previously seen in the Legoland game, act as a mentor to the player. Only this time, his design was a lot closer to a traditional minifigure, without the nose. Voltage's role would end up going to a new character created specifically for the game named Sparky. He was a ton of fun. While the first Racers game was pretty simple and heavily influenced by Mario Kart, its successor expanded everything. Now the player would be able to explore the different LEGO worlds inspired by other racing games which were exploring new open world features. The game would be released on PC, PlayStation 2, and Game Boy Advance. In the wake of the success of LEGO creator Knight's Kingdom, LEGO planned to follow up with another themed creator game, this time being Life on Mars. Product manager Martin Williams later remarked, "We started work on LEGO creator Life on Mars, which was the main LEGO space line at the time. When the opportunity to do LEGO Harry Potter as a creator theme presented itself, we switched to that." Putting more of a focus on the line of sets and the world of Harry Potter, the game featured more linear levels like the previous Knight's Kingdom entry, rather than the free-play building introduced in the original game. The game would become LEGO's first licensed title, predating LEGO's Star Wars, which many people don't even know about. Released a huge success coinciding with the release of the movie, LEGO returned the next year with LEGO creator Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, this time with a new developer, Cube Software. Before its release, the game originally had a different cover art featuring a more silly and slapstick encounter, while the final cover gives a much better vibe and focuses on the titular chamber, which I must say is such a cool set, still one I really want to track down. Unlike most LEGO video games at the time, both Harry Potter titles were only released on PC and not on console. LEGO Software, now dubbed LEGO Interactive, signed a lucrative publishing deal with EA in hopes to gain a wider market. Soccer Mania, or Football Mania depending what region you're in, would be the first release in this new deal and the first game released under the new LEGO Interactive branding. LEGO reteamed with LEGO Island 2 developer Silicon Dreams. While the game would only come out in 2002, development on the game had begun much earlier under Data Design Interactive, who had previously created Rock Raiders. Set to be released in 1999 as LEGO Soccer 2000, the game was meant to capitalize on the upcoming LEGO Sports Soccer sets. An early prototype build was created and featured a LEGO character that you could customize, including a realistic face texture which is just a thing of nightmares.
You stay here with your weird secret sex lips.
Development never went that far, as LEGO chose to work with Silicon Dreams instead, as they had a ton of experience working on numerous other soccer games. Like Racers, Soccer Mania is a massive crossover featuring characters from nearly every LEGO theme at the time, of course not including licensed ones. Funny enough, the Brickster returned as the main villain. Interestingly, the game predates Mario Strikers, which certainly took a lot of influence from it. Also, let's not forget to mention how insane the soundtrack is. Filled with absolute bangers. Also, I'm absolutely convinced Kanye West sampled the Adventurers mix.
Coincidence? I think not!
I mean, the similarities are insane. Island Extreme Stunts would be the second game released as part of LEGO's publishing deal with EA. Like LEGO Island 2, Silicon Dreams would return to work on the game. Its development began as far back as 2000, before the second game was even released. Initially titled LEGO Island 3, one of the first features the development team worked on was a system that could see the island morph in real time, allowing the player to redesign it to their liking. The team also played with the idea of the game being exclusive to consoles, focusing on multiplayer and RPG elements. Another really cool idea featured Pepper leaving the island to go on a globe-trotting adventure alongside Johnny Thunder, following his missing father, Baloney Roni's my god, that name is insane. Baloney Roni's trail to find the lost treasure of Marco Polo. Locations would have included the Middle East, China, Egypt, India, and Tibet. An entire story bible was even created for the game, featuring numerous characters from the LEGO Adventurers theme of sets. While these ideas were so cool, they were ultimately scrapped and folded into the setting of the Adventurers sub-theme Orient Expedition. By 2001, LEGO reevaluated their plans and shifted the focus of the game to extreme sports, as those kind of games were very popular at the time. To coincide with the game's release, LEGO began working on a wave of island sets. Some interesting cut content from the game included a completely different intro, as well as different settings based on other themes such as Western. By the time the game was completed, it was known as LEGO Island 3 Stunt Action, before being renamed to LEGO Island Extreme Stunts, and then finally just Island Extreme Stunts, dropping the LEGO logo from the name. The game would ultimately be released on PS2, PC, and Game Boy Advance. While the game featured really fun and engaging gameplay, the LEGO Island series at this time had sadly become too focused on competing with other games, rather focusing on the magic that made the first game so great. As the LEGO Racers theme of sets grew in popularity, LEGO began working on a sequel to Racers 2, then known simply as Racers 3. Attention to detail returned to work on the game. Originally planned to be just a straightforward sequel, it was eventually retitled Drome Racers. The game was a huge departure from the previous two. Despite using models of actual LEGO Racer sets, the game centered on realism with human characters instead of minifigures. Rocket Racer returns but is completely unrecognizable.
I don't even know who you are.
He simply offers guidance to the player character as he is now retired for some reason. The end result was sadly just a very generic racing game that stripped all the fun that made the first two games so successful. Despite this, the game still found major success, releasing on PC, PS2, GameCube, and Game Boy Advance. A sequel was quickly greenlit titled Lego Racers CC with a new developer, Bizarre Creations. The CC stood for Create and Control, as the game would go back to its basics, allowing the player to customize and build their own car like the original two. Racers CC also had a lot more flair compared to Drome Racers. The game featured 6 characters heavily influenced by anime art style. The unique designs were super fun and vibrant. Despite already starting marketing on the game, being featured in numerous LEGO catalogs and adverts, it would unfortunately not meet its 2004 release and was sadly cancelled due to LEGO's financial woes at the time, almost going bankrupt.
On the island of Matanui, 6 mighty heroes rise against evil. To succeed, they must find the masks of power. Join their quest against evil. Discover their skills. Use their masks. Bionicle. Find the power. Live the legend.
Bionicle, one of the most iconic themes in LEGO history. One could even say it was a cultural phenomenon. As a kid, I didn't know anyone who didn't have Bionicles. A huge fan myself, my brother and I religiously kept up with the lore and would read every book that expanded the saga of Bionicle. I'll never forget the day we went to pick up Bionicle the Mask of Light movie at Blockbuster. What a time to be alive that was. Now, onto the gaming side. 2 years before the film was released, the theme was already becoming a huge success. To cash in on this, LEGO produced 2 handheld games for the Game Boy Advance. With a vast universe featuring so much lore, LEGO put all their confidence in a Bionicle RPG game. Confident in Sapphire after they produced the 2 handheld games, LEGO gave them a shot at Bionicle The Legend of Matanui, which was meant to serve as the ultimate adaptation of the 2001 story arc. Unfortunately, LEGO became concerned with violence in the game, especially after the 9/11 attacks that year. A combination of disappointment from the board and worries about violence post 9/11 led to the game's cancellation. Although LEGO had already put a ton of money on a sizable marketing campaign, they then recruited the services of Argonaut Games to work on a new Bionicle title, which would become Bionicle the Game. Despite being marketed as the authentic Bionicle experience, it omitted many characters and parts of the story due to time constraints. Sadly, the game was a huge misfire due to being extremely short in length, receiving mixed to negative reviews, and didn't end up being the huge hit LEGO was banking on. As a result, Argonaut Games would not receive any royalties and were forced to go bankrupt, completely shutting down by 2006. A rather unfortunate outcome. Even though the title wasn't the game changer in the video game world, many have since reappraised it, fondly looking back at the game through nostalgia, helping it achieve cult status. To this day, there's fans continuing the legacy of Bionicle in video games. Lifestone Studios would complete the cancelled Legend of Matanui game, releasing in August 2019 as Bionicle The Legend of Matanui Rebuilt. Another fan-made game, Bionicle Masks of Power, is also in development. LEGO themselves even approved the game, with a demo set to be released later this year exclusively on Steam. Similar to Bionicle, LEGO introduced another theme with a huge overarching story and buildable figures in 2004. Despite sharing the name Knight's Kingdom with the previous castle sub-theme, it was a completely different thing with new characters and a new setting. Confident in the theme, LEGO unleashed a massive marketing campaign for the theme. From reference books to junior novels, McDonald's toys, a board game, chess, trading cards, school materials, promotional sets, and even party supplies apparently, LEGO really went all in. Therefore, it was a no-brainer that a video game would also see the light of day. Playing in a top-down style with hack-and-slash combat, the game is very reminiscent of the original Legend of Zelda games. If anything, it also reminded me of the Lord of the Rings Return of the King on GBA. While its main style of gameplay was really fun, it also offered a super unique feature, Tournament Arena. It allowed the player to joust their opponent, followed by a one-on-one arena battle. The game did a great job at adapting the story behind the first wave of Knight's Kingdom sets, but man, it would have been so awesome if the game got a sequel. The sets and lore from the following wave go even harder. Updated designs, amazing sets with really cool features, and a higher stakes plot where Lord Vladik literally takes over all of Morsha, forcing the knights to be the underdogs against his evil empire. I have a ton of love for these sets, and it was by far one of my all-time favorite themes. After the release of Knight's Kingdom, LEGO gaming would change forever with LEGO Star Wars the video game. Succeeding that game, every subsequent LEGO title would be developed by TT Games, creating a unified gameplay system that would be reused in each subsequent release. Although the games have become way more mainstream, there's a certain sadness I feel as we'll never get any unique LEGO titles again. As most of these games were released independently, there was a certain charm they brought. The wide variety of games offered so many different things too, while the new ones, they're mostly the same thing. LEGO gaming would not be where it is today without the brilliance of Wes Jenkins. He saw an opportunity to blend the beloved toy with gaming in a way that was never seen before. Despite passing away in 2017, his legacy will live on forever. While it's a tragedy that many of these games have been forgotten in time, hopefully a new generation will discover the endless hours of fun these titles offered. I feel very fortunate to have grown up at the same time as these games, and as the great Dr. Seuss once said, don't cry because it's over, smile because it happened.